السلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه من والاه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So here we get into the ninth page, or the eighth page actually, of the textbook. And here we get into numbers, okay? So this is actually very new, alright? It's part of this review section, but it's a new lesson for us. Although what you'll find is that you probably recognize a lot of the numbers already from a certain type of vocabulary that we've been learning. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So here we have this new title. Okay, so we have mufradatun idafiyatun. Mufradatun idafiyatun. So mufradat, I believe we covered this. Mufradat is vocabulary, alright? And idafiya is extra, okay? So this is extra vocabulary. So beyond what we learned, this is extra vocabulary. So now we have al-ard. Al-ard, we've covered it. Undur wastami' wa'id, right? This is familiar to us. We don't need to translate it. And now we get these strange perspective images of color pencils that are used to explain the numbers. Okay, so we have here these numbers that we might recognize, okay? So this is, let me actually change the color here. So we've seen some of these symbols before, right? This is the number 1. This is the number 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the way you can tell is because there's one color pencil here, there's 2 here, there's 3 here. You get the point. So this is how you write the numbers in Arabic. Now 1 looks exactly like the number 1, and we've covered this in the past, right? The number 2 looks a little bit different, but if you turn your head 90 degrees to the right, it actually looks like a number 2 in English written sideways. Okay, so that's this. And actually here, this actually also looks like the number 3 written sideways with a line. Okay, so these are the first 3 numbers, and it's kind of easy to remember those. The number 4 is kind of like the letter E. Okay, so it looks like the letter E in English, and the number 5 is just a circle. Okay, so this is how you write the numbers. How do you say the numbers? Okay, so we have here wahid. Wahid is the number 1. Okay, so wahid maybe is familiar to you from something like Qul huwallahu ahad. Ahad, wahid, they come from the same family. They don't mean exactly the same thing, but wahid is 1. Okay, ithnain, or it's not ithnain but ithnan. Ithnan is 2. Okay, so this might sound familiar because of the hiwars, right? Al-hiwar al-awwal, right, is the first hiwar, which is different from wahid. But then the second hiwar is al-hiwar al-thani. Thani. Okay, so here it's ithnain, or ithnan. Okay, I keep saying ithnain because in some dialects they say ithnain. So here we have thalatha. Okay, thalatha is 3. And again, al-hiwaru thalith, the third conversation. Thalatha is the number. Thalith is the sequential number, so third, right? And then number 5 is arba'a. Arba'a. Okay, so let me clear that out because I covered the haraka. Arba'a is the number 4, and khamsa is the number 5. So these are the 5 numbers that we'll be covering in on this page. But actually we'll be covering 6 because I gotta put this out there, but the number 0 never gets any love. Okay, so actually Arabs didn't invent 0, it was the Indians who did, and then the Arabs, they kind of stole it later or adopted it. But the number 0 is sifr. Okay, so this is the number 0, and the way you write 0 in Arabic is just a dot. Okay, so it just kind of looks like a dot. So that's the number 0. So these are the 6 numbers we'll be covering in this portion here. Now, if you look down, later in the page, we have these new instructions as well. So let's go over those. So at-tadrib is exercise. We covered that last time. And then here we have all these new words. صل بين العدد والصورة المناسبة. So the last line, we recognize these words, okay? Surah is picture and munasib is appropriate. Okay? So what is the first line saying? So sil means to connect something. Okay? And if you're like a tajweed master, you've probably seen something in the Quran that looks like this. Okay? It's called Hamzatul Wasl or Alif Wasla. Okay? And it comes from the same word. Hamzatul Wasl means the joining alif, the connecting alif. Right? So this is the silent alif that no one reads. Right? And sil comes from the same word as wasl. So that's kind of a fun fact there. Most people probably don't know the Hamzatul Wasl unless you've studied tajweed at some point. So sil is to connect, and baina is between. Okay? So connect between al-adad. Al-adad is the numbers. Okay? Was surah, and the picture. So connect between the number and the picture that's appropriate. So here you have 1 book, 5 books, 4 books, 2 books, and 3 books. And here on the bottom you have these Arabic numbers, right? The 2, 3, 1, 5, and 4. So to complete this exercise, you would connect, right? This is the 4, this is the 5, this is the 1, this is the 3, and this is the 2. Right? So this is what the instructions are saying. So the second one says at-tadrib. Okay, so at-tadrib is something that we recognize. And then it says ratib al-a'dad. Ratib al-a'dad. So one of these words at least is very familiar to us. Al-a'dad. Al-a'dad is similar to adad. Okay, but a'dad is the plural. Adad is the singular. So a'dad is the number. Okay, so what is rattib? Right? Rattib is to sort. Okay, so rattib means to sort something or arrange it or put it in order. Or like for example in the Quran it says وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا, and basically recite the Quran in order, in its appropriate fashion, right? So rattib is, actually I don't think that example applies, so just scratch that. But rattib al-a'dad is to basically order the numbers. So this is the number 1, right? So here we have all these numbers that are scrambled, right? So they want you to put 2 here, 3, right, then the number 4, and then the 5, whatever correlates in Arabic. So this is just to familiarize yourself with the numbers and how they're written. So here we have at-tadrib, and it says ashir ila al-adad alladhi tasma'uhu. Okay, so ashir is to point, right, or to just to point. Ila, we know, is 2. Al-adad is the number. Alladhi, we didn't get this word per se, but we got allati, and I explained at that time that it's the feminine version of alladhi. So alladhi is the one. Tasma'uhu, that you hear it. So it means you hear it. So here someone is supposed to recite the numbers. Wahid, ithnan, thalatha, right? And then you go to this section and then you point. Okay, this is wahid, right here, right? This is ithnan, this is thalatha, this is arba'a, this is khamsa, right? So this is the instruction here. And then we have قُلِ الْعَدَدَ الْمُشَارَ إِلَيْهِ. قُلِ الْعَدَدَ مُشَارَ إِلَيْهِ. So here somebody is supposed to point to a number and you're supposed to say its name. Okay? So the one prior, you just point at it, and then in this one, you say its name. So this is the lesson on the first 5 or 6 numbers, if you include 0. And then inshallah ta'ala, I think at the end of chapter 2, we'll go to 10. And then from there, we'll move on. Maybe I'll do it quicker, because the numbers in Arabic are actually quite simple. Once you kind of get the pattern, right, the first 10 you just have to memorize, and then the pattern for the teens, once you get the pattern, you'll basically know them. And then anything beyond the teens, you just have to memorize a few words and a little bit of structure, and then you'll basically be able to count to whatever you want. So with that, we'll conclude. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. And assalamu alaikum.